All right, so for assignment 3, we're looking at the segmentation of customers within a marketplace. So the agenda for today is that we're looking at the introduction, how I clean the data, use feature extraction, persistent homology, how I use cluster analysis, segmentation analysis, and then a conclusion to it all. So starting off, the importance of segmentation in this current situation is to get a better understanding of the customer dynamic of this company, as well as getting a better understanding of the needs that are associated with each of these groups so that we can make better strategic business decisions in the future that can help better off this company. So starting off, I downloaded the raw data set. And the first thing that I did was I decided to clean this data a little bit. So I did this by taking all the variables such as sex, marital status, education, occupation, and settlement and changing these to numeric variables. As you can see, I did for sex, I did male as 1 and female as 2. So I did this with all the rest as well. And then I used this data and feature extraction to get a better understanding of what the data sets were. And I was given a PC1 to PC7 value, but then I decided to only use the PC1 to PC5 due to these being the only important ones in the data set. And once again, I used feature extraction to try to get a better understanding of these clusters as a whole, rather than using all of the normal data. And then I used persistent homology based on these PC1, PC5 values to try to find clusters like we did in class. So I identified 5 different clusters here on the chart. So that's what I used when I was doing my cluster analysis. I said we had 5 different potential segments based off of this, and that is what I rolled with. So rolling on to cluster analysis, I decided to use 5 segments, as I said, with the last slide. And then I ran that through the R code. And then I ended up getting this data set that's given all these 1 to 5 cluster values for each of these different IDs and different customers. So this can get a better understanding of which segment each person is in. And we can use these clusters to get a better understanding of the data as a whole. So starting off with segment analysis, I decided to look at the sex of the customers to try to determine whether we're being shopped by more male or more female. And I ended up coming upon the conclusion that cluster 1 is majority male, cluster 2 is majority female, while 3, 4, and 5 are a mix between the two. So that is something that's very interesting to me, why 1 and 2 are so different in gender, while the other 3 are just back and forth. Another analysis that I did was the income and the education level of these customers. So as you can see in the income diagram, that cluster 5 is the segment that contains the highest average income, and that section 3 is the group that has the lowest income on average. So taking this into account, you can think of if this person is in segment 5, we want to sell them a higher product than if they were in segment 3. So this can be useful in that way. Education level is something else that I looked into, and you can see that in cluster 2 has the lowest number of college students as well. And then section 3, 4, and 5 have the most educated students, with students in college and in graduate school. So some more analysis I did was occupation and settlement size. And we can see that cluster 5 is full of management jobs here, because occupation 3 was management jobs, while the other 2 were skilled employees and unemployed customers. So by looking at this, you can see that definitely segment 5 is associated with management jobs, while the others are not. A settlement size, you can look at and see that big city settlements are exclusive for clusters 1 and 3, because no one from cluster 1 was from a small town, and all other clusters were changed from that. So in finale, these are the 5 clusters that I've looked at. Cluster 2 is the biggest through all the customer base, 32.55%. Most of them are female, and then it's our second lowest income and a low number of college attendees. So this is a lower, not as higher educated and higher income group, but it is our biggest group. And then you can look at all the different ones here and get a general idea of what each cluster is about and what kind of people they associate with each one. So in conclusion, these insights that can be found from segments can help the company get better by understanding their employees, and their customers, better understand their customers, and to get a better understanding of what needs they can fill in the future to make the best market they can for these customers.